Hi, everybody. Onegaishimasu. All right. So we are on chapter 19, and I'm sure all of you cross referenced this chapter with Curtis Sensei's book, Letting Go, because there's a chapter in Letting Go about this subject, which is Rei Ki Barai. Uh, so I'm going to read from a lecture he did several years ago. Shimpo Uchure Kano Sokugenjo sometimes stands alone and is sometimes used in concert with Kirei Kibarai. To my way of seeing, because of the kind of teaching that Suzuki Sensei gave me about this, the meaning changes slightly, but significantly depending upon how it's used. When it is combined with Kirei Kibarai, as it usually is when it is in use, it's part of a ceremony. And when it is part of the ceremony, the meaning remains, but I like to give a little more active inference to it. This would be the state that I am in right now determines how I perceive or experience my life now and in the future. This is a definition that Suzuki Sensei used to like or something close to this because it's a kind of injunction in it. It is not just a description of a state of being, but when you say it this second way, it sort of includes a kind of requirement to honor that. So it is not just saying that's the way it is, but this is our practice. So, using, I don't know, reading the chapter in the book is basically, how to do it, you know, what's it's used for, etc. But, if you know, like the Maui, yeah, like in the background, my picture here on this side, is Shimpo Uchure Kano Soku Genjo. It's a poem that Toy Sensei wrote, and it's there at headquarters as well. And we decided to put it at our dojo to the right of the shomen. And so that's the poem. And every year, the first of the year, Sensei does a dojo blessing and blesses a dojo by doing salt and sake, and then also doing the ki kibarai, and that's doing the ki and basically cutting ku, which is suffering. Um, and it's kind of it's very ceremonial. I have extensive notes on how to do it, which is like right from the manual. Suzuki Sensei was really big on this. um, he learned it, of course, directly from Toy Sensei, and he learned it because he was a police officer, and Toy Sensei said, you can use this to basically he didn't say in a superstitious manner, but basically you cut key to basically cleanse a place of anything bad, So that's kind of why he did it. And Suzuki Sensei told me that before he boarded any airplane, he always did that, silently to himself. It was Suzuki Sensei was from that generation, and that's and he would tell you exactly what he used it. And I went with him on several occasions. Uh, Suzuki Sensei was renowned in the Japanese community on Maui, and if anybody bought a new house, built a new house, or opened a business, they asked him to go to the location and bless it and do Kirei Kibarai. And he did that. And I usually traveled with him when I got here. I used to go with him in the past. Curtis Sensei went with him, but Suzuki Sensei, when I arrived, asked me to attend. So I went to many different houses and businesses, and and even Joelle, when she opened her new gallery in Lahaina, she asked Curtis Sensei to come and do the same thing, to do Kirei and Kibarai and bless the dojo. So it's 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 a traditional, ceremonial thing that we do. And I really liked what Curtis Sensei wrote, and I would highly recommend, going to chapter 19 in Letting Go and reading that section in the book on this subject. A funny story I have is, I, I'm trying to remember. I believe it was we did one of the HKF seminars in Kauai. That was the first of the year seminar, and of course Curtis Sensei does Kirei and Ki Barai, and of course when he does it, he does Tuitsu no In, and does the Shimpo to Rei, Shimpo to Rei, he does it really nice, right? So I was driving the rental car, and we were going back to the hotel, and he looks over at me and he goes, Tracy, do Shimpo Uchure Kano Soko Genjo. And of course, I'm in driving the car, and right, I just belted out Shimpo Uchure Kano Soko Genjo. And he goes, no, 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 like this. And then he's got the whole car, and we're doing a whole lesson on Shimpo Uchure Kano Soko Genjo in the car to the hotel. And it was just one of those moments that you just can't, you never would have suspected, here, us four, I think it was me, uh Curtis Sensei, Jeff, Baldwin, and I can't remember, I don't know if Suzuki Sensei was there. I don't think he was. It was somebody else. We were all driving in the car doing that, and he really wanted to concentrate on how you say it, what you need to do, how you emphasize each syllable. And he's that way with everything, anything Japanese. He really, like on Friday night, he kind of said, "Oh, Sayaka, we say that in Japanese. I still can't do that quite because he's a perfectionist when it comes to that kind of thing, and he really wants to get the accent. I mean, he tortured me. You wouldn't believe. One time in Oahu, we were doing, he had me reading the key tests, right? And standing with and I had to. There was a couple Japanese phrases in there, and I don't know. To me, there was an unlimited key test because it felt like 20 people were getting key tests because every time I came to that Japanese word, he would look at me and go, "Say that again," in front of everybody. I don't know if you were at that seminar, but it was so. I was just really trying. You know how you start and you're trying to do it, and then you're like, God, please let me just say this right. So I don't have to say it again. And it was just one of those moments that I'll never forget. It really helped me understand. Like a lot of people say, words are important. It's important what you say, and you should say it correctly, with the right pronunciation. And he would make fun. Well, I say that. Curtis Sensei would point out that my pronunciation, which is very Midwestern, but it's very unique to Midwest too. I have a certain way of saying things and accentuating certain words that obviously was not correct. And he made a point of his job was to help me correct it. So it was correct. So it was quite enlightening for me, to be quizzed, that much, even during, whether it be the key test or driving in the car, you know, reciting Shimpo Uchure Kano Soko Genjo over and over again, and not quietly, not like Shimpo Uchure Kano. No, he had us just full on Shimpo Uchure. He had us really going in the car that day. It was really fun, um, and but it just emphasizes, that we have to value this training, but we value it by how we portray it in ourselves. And whether it be, him, I remember him going around at the Hanapepe Dojo and having everyone say it, and most people don't speak Japanese, so of course it's going to be difficult for them. It's like learning the Narito. I mean, he's very specific on how he wants you to recite the Narito, and that's because Suzuki Sensei was very, particular with him and very, okay, it has to be done this way. And even, when he got higher up in rank, that's the only time I ever saw Suzuki Sensei correct Curtis Sensei was on the Narita. I never saw him correct any technique, any kind of cutting, anything during anything. But Suzuki Sensei would, even up until even when Curtis Sensei was very high ranking, he would still give him pointers and suggestions on Naruto. So it's very important to him. So um, we have to look and see the value in that kind of training. And so I would recommend going to Letting Go, chapter 19, and just reading it. And if you have any questions, email Curtis Sensei. He loves to hear your questions and concerns on anything that's in the manual or in Letting Go. So, and then also I mean, if you just Google Rei Ki Barai, it will come up. CurtisSensei.com comes right there, Google, and you click on it and go right to the lecture or listen to it. So it's right there. So it's easy to find. And if that doesn't answer it, then you can certainly, email. You can email me, but you know, I'm, it's better that you email Curtis and say he's much more prolific on the subject than I am. So with that being said, does anybody have any questions, concerns, um, anything about this chapter? Any stories? You're smiling, Lillian.
Good,
Gloria.
good evening, Sensei, and good evening, everybody. I do remember one seminar when Curtis Sensei had everybody say it. He went around the room and everybody had to say it. And then Lynn Curtis Sensei also did a little critiquing when we were doing it one of the times. But other than that, I haven't said it except when I decide to do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. That's the thing about this manual. You can go to it and open it up and go, "Hey, I want to try this out. I want to see how it sounds." And just listen to yourself say it over and over again. And use it. I mean, even if you Google Shimpo Uchure Kano Soku Genjo, which I did before this class, you will get the Wikipedia page the uh, on the place of peace, which is the temple that Shiner Sensei brought over from Japan to Furman University. And it's a very nice article written in Wikipedia about the place of peace and the purpose of it, and it's got Shiner Sensei's translation of Shimpo Uchure Kano Soko Genjo, which is more poetic because it's a poem. That phrase is actually a poem that Toy Sensei wrote, and what Curtis Sensei did in the manual is more a literal translation. But then he gives the follow up with a little lecture about it in Letting Go. What about you, Fincher? Were you in the car with us that day when we were doing the Shimpo Uchure thing?
I think I might have been. I'm not sure. I have tried it a few times with Sensei. Uh, Interesting though. Have you gotten the finger Ibrae down?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's I used to practice that a lot. I practiced that in Arizona because we watched. I don't know if you look. There was a long time ago. There was a series of they called it the Soden tapes, and these were videotapes back in the states at VHS that headquarters put out, and there was a series of like 10 video cassettes, and one of those cassettes has Toy Sensei doing that, and we in Arizona zeroed in on it and just like highlighted it and watched it over and over again until we got it down. It's a mudra, it's one of those mudras that really is it's once you learn it, it's very easy. It's just muscle memory, you know. But Suzuki Sensei taught it, and Curtis Sensei teaches it. Do you practice?
No, I'm not very good at
Yeah. It's just that, interlocking your fingers and learning how to interlock your fingers, you know. Once you get that down, it's pretty easy. What else, Fincher?
Oh, I don't know. I just think I have fond memories of going to the temple in Japan,
Oh yeah.
and everybody participating and going up to the temple and doing that at the temple and doing the best you could. But it was just part of the special specialness of that event because we would go very early in the morning and it was the ancestral temple and you'd go up and ring the bell and then you'd do the Ki Barai. And it was really
Yeah.
really good memories of that.
Yeah, it's yeah, you're this is so for those of you who have not gone to Japan, you know, headquarters is on one side of the street and on the other side of the street was the ancestral home, the private dojo of Toy Sensei, um, and the Aso something temple. And that was their, it's a Shinto temple, and it was very nice, and everybody, Curtis Sensei, learned from Suzuki Sensei to go early in the morning. If you're staying at headquarters, you go out there every early in the morning, go to the temple, and you know, uh, basically Shimpo Uchure Kano Soko Genjo like 3 times, and then do your thing, and then ring the bell 3 times, and then walk, and then the, as it was, it used to be a small group of maybe 4 or 5 people, and then, of course, Curtis Sensei kind of got a big crowd. At first, EKF people started joining us. Then it got so big they had to do 2 different groups, the EKF group and the HKF group. And then there was like freaking 20 people in each group. And we want to ring the bell and go to 7-Eleven. Coffee. But it got so big, that Curtis Sensei finally was like, okay, let's get everybody here, and then we'll just get a small group and go. And we'll do stages. And then there was the HKF people would go, then the Europeans would follow, and then we'd break off. And yeah, it got to be quite interesting. And we participated in moving the kami, which is the gods, in the temple. The last time we were at headquarters, I believe it was the last time we moved the gods from the temple because they were going to tear it down and put the temple in the back of the dojo there, where that outdoor smoking area was. That's where they're going to resurrect the temple and put the kamis in there. But it's a big deal, to move that kind of thing. um, you know, they have to get a Shinto priest, and you have to, organize it, and they've got to cover it, and it's a really complex move, and I think. Yeah, I was holding one of the poles they put it on this like thing, and you got to carry it. And I was holding one corner as they transported it from across the street to inside the dojo where it stayed until it would find its until they built the shrine, and then it would be rest there. Yeah, yeah, lots of good memories of that. Anybody else?
Hello,
Elaine?
Sensei. Hello,
Hi.
everybody. Um, Actually, it's very funny. I was trying to think what seminar it was that we did this at. It's probably the one Gloria's talking about. But it was funny because I was breaking down the syllables per kanji. Instead of shinpo and folks focusing on the vowel, I was breaking it out like I was reading it. And so Curtis Sensei corrected me. And the funny part is, I used to practice in the car when I drive to work and back. I'd be driving along and people probably thought I was nuts coming in the opposite direction, but I figured that was a one nice quiet place where nobody could bother me and I could just be aware, drive, and practice saying this. And then once I became a head instructor, Curtis Sensei memory thing. Once you got it, you kind of have it. But I
Right.
only use it at the end of the year because we usually join Hilo Dojo for their opening.
Ah,
Even if I do my own little quiet thing by myself at the dojo to open, I do the end of the year thing at our dojo. And then, so I have to hopefully not sound like a chipmunk and do it correctly. but it was very nice to practice it. And I'm really glad that Curtis Sensei brings these things up at the seminar, because that's a chance to get corrected and to do it right, or also for people who don't get a chance to do it to get a chance. So I have a lot of
Yeah.
fun memories of this. And I don't know if it's just my age or what, but I never worry about being embarrassed. If I mess up, I mess up. So, it's all great to me. So
Right.
anytime you guys see me do it wrong, please let me know.
Right. So do you have any Nonaka Sensei doing the blessings?
Actually, it's very interesting because Nonaka Sensei and I had several discussions on this before and after Hilo classes sometimes. Because not only from Aikido respect, but he had a very good understanding of the Japanese language. And I was always picking his brain, and he would talk about doing it in the shower every morning. And, his grandchildren would call him up and say, "Hey, I'm having a big test tomorrow. Could you do this for me?" And so it was really nice. And he always had that presence anyway. And so I have some really fond memories, but it was mostly just sitting down and discussing it, what it meant, his version, how he translated it. So very precious memories for me because I didn't get a lot of alone time with him sometimes. So
Oh, yeah, that's good. Great. Anybody else?
Well, I was going to add that what I
Gloria,
remember about learning
do you
it
have
is there
anything
was a lot of
students could
emphasis.
do?
Yeah. Um, what I remember about learning it is there was a lot of emphasis on the rhythm.
Yes.
And the Shinpo Uchire Kan no Sokugenju. And then I remember one time Lynn Curtis did it, and Curtis Sensei looks at her and says, "Where's the juice?" Because she didn't do, kind of the tone part of it that he would do, lower, then slightly higher, and hold it both times, and then going descending the last time. So he says, "Where's the juice?"
Right. Yeah, that was the thing, the rhythm, Shinpo Uchure Kanno Soku Genjo. Yeah, he was really big on the rhythm. Yeah, it was really important. So anything from you, Ilaria?
Hi, Sensei. Yeah, I just have a lot of fond memories of it too because Hybe Sensei always did it at the last class of the year. And that was always our testing class where a bunch of students tested. And we had the sake ceremony, except it was juice. So, yeah, good times. I always thought that blessing was really cool. I always really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that's we always do at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, and that was one thing Suzuki Sensei was really big on. The two most important classes of it every year is the first class and the last class, and that's when they would do the blessing and we'd have the sake, or the juice. I think we have 7 Up. It just depends on what Melly brings. Melly usually brings something non-alcoholic for the non-drinkers and the people who are underage, because we have several people in the dojo that don't drink. So it's ginger ale, sparkling cider, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's always, you know, kind of launches your year and ends your year. Kind of connects everything. Yeah, that's why I like that. Yeah, Lillian.
I actually thought of something kind of funny. What I do now before I start class at the end of the year and open up the class, we always invite all the parents, so that they can come and watch their kids test or perform. Sometimes it's a performance. And one year before I started doing this, which is why I started doing this, I did the Rei Ki Barai. And when I did the coup, I saw a couple of the parents jump because I hadn't warned them that I was doing this. So this is why now at the end of the class, the end of last class of the year, I tell them what we're doing and why. I explain it before we do it for the parents and stuff, so that I don't make any more parents jump in their seats, or, the kids all know what's going on, but sometimes there's somebody who doesn't. So I thought it was kind of funny that that day I was doing it. Now the corner of my eyes, I could see.
Right.
So we learn as teachers.
Right. So how about you, John? Anything from you?
Yeah, it's funny that you were saying that Lillian, that parents sometimes jump when you do Kiyobarai. Because I guess in a sense that's with I remember I'm thinking about like the blessing, the Kiyobarai, and it just reminds me of all the different uh the temples, Buddhists, Hawaiians, Christians, they all do some sort of blessing and some sort of purification. And it's very similar, it's got this like uh, connection, right? You're extending your key through your voice and your actions, and you're bringing everyone, bringing their awareness to this moment, right? And what I found funny is when I do my blessings, I too think about like, oh, I gotta warn everybody and let them know exactly what I'm doing because some people aren't familiar. So I thought that was a similarity.
Yeah, for sure. Do you do a blessing at the beginning and the end of the year? I'm sure you do, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
very common practice. And yeah, it's quite interesting, when Curtis Sensei, he would do this, like we did it this year. This was an event we actually held at the dojo. We had a little sign up and people could come, and he did it this year. And then he was really excited to see that, we were invited to headquarters. So if you joined the headquarters class, you saw Shinichi Sensei do it, but he didn't do the whole, you know, Shimpo Ushure Kano Soku Genjo. And that really surprised Curtis Sensei. He went, oh, he didn't do that, I'll have to ask him why he didn't do that. He didn't, he just did the ki and the cutting and what have you, but he didn't do Shimpo Ushure. So that was quite surprising. But in a way, it's probably not so surprising because Shinichi Sensei tends to try to take any kind of inkling of religion out of it to the public when he does a public event. He doesn't want it to have sort of, religious, you know, activity in it. Because I know he asked, Curtis Sensei had asked him if he did Norito. If he did Norito after Misogi, and he said, "Oh no, I don't do that anymore because we don't do that. But I think you should continue doing that. Please continue to do that and hold that, as a part of the Maui Dojo. But I really can't. It's kind of like when you become a bigwig, you can't kind of do stuff like you would if you were just a regular guy, kind of thing. That's how I see it. It's like a lot of things I like to do, I can't do anymore, whether it be at work or at the dojo. It's just I have responsibility now. That's the price you pay, of course. Kayomi, we haven't heard from you tonight. Did you read the chapter or like the chapter or have questions about the chapter?
Hello, Sensei. Hello, everyone. Yes, I did read a chapter, and it was interesting for me to, hear about this purification, Japanese purification, because when I came to Hawaii and when I was working in a hotel, we have Hawaiian blessings a lot. Every time when we open a new office or new hotels, any new things. We had Hawaiian blessings, and I really liked it. I like beginning and ending in Japanese way, and there is a lot of similarity to that. And I really welcomed their practice, and it was like John said, it was similar. And I was also thinking of how we end our year every year at the end of big cleaning, and usually, my husband sometimes, asks me, why are we cleaning until 7 or 8 o'clock at night on December 31st? Everybody's playing, playing and drinking. And I said, that's too bad. That's, you're married to Japanese women. That's what you have to do. but that's really important for us to, cleanse everything and then put the Japanese decorations to welcome New Year. So I think this a ritual reminds me of this New Year's beginning, ending and beginnings are very, very important. So I really like how you practice and it's follow the rituals. I have a question. This Shinpo Uchure Kannon Sokugenjo, is this something you would do that only for uh, like special occasions, or I like the meaning of it very much. I didn't know what it was. So before this class, I went into internet, and there was a one web page collect all the Tohei Sensei's words. So they gave me the meaning, and I really like it. If we follow the universe and take actions accordingly, the dreams or whatever will be actualized. And I really like it. So is that something I can say in daily life? Because one of the things I think I learned from Kari Sensei was Sara Sarato,
Yes.
Todokoran wa Kaminari and Kogoru wa Oninari. I say that sometimes in my car when I can't let things go. I have to flow like a river, and I'm driving on a flow. So I'm wondering if I can say this poem, you say poetry, on a regular basis, or that's not appropriate.
No, I think it's totally appropriate. You can say it throughout your day, or it's just with you and your connection to the universe. So yeah, you can say it anytime you want. It's a poem. Toy Sensei was quite an artist. We have some of his ink paintings, and his paintings are very good. I mean, I was impressed. I was like, wow, he did that. And he was quite the poet, just kind of like it's kind of traditional, that back in the day, warriors were also, skilled artisans. They did some sort of painting or calligraphy or poetry, in essence, when they weren't fighting. That's what they practiced. And O Sensei he had a book of poetry. Toy Sensei has lots of poetry and lots of little sayings, and that, in fact, Lillian just received her calendar, and that's what we're going over every Friday night of little quotes that Toy Sensei wrote out, just to kind of inspire you and to get you thinking. Not necessarily all of them are inspirational, but they're more, they're seeds for your brain. For it plants a little seed in your thought process, and you start contemplating it, and then next thing you know, it kind of changes your practice. And that's funny you should say this thing about cleaning on the 31st, because you don't want to clean on the first. That's something you don't do. It's against the rules in Japan. You never clean on the first, because you'll clean the rest of the year. That's what they say. So yeah, you always clean at the end of the year. Uh, and yeah, that's really good. So I'd say, say it whenever you feel the need to say it. It's okay. You know.
Thank you, Sensei.
Vitali, I don't know if you Does your dojo do uh, this kind of blessing?
Uh, Hello, Sensei. Hello, everybody. Unfortunately, I didn't have any chance to see or to take part in such procedure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's new for me. I try to find something about it in internet, but for now it's very new for me.
Yeah, it's very traditional Japanese to, when you open a session, you have this kind of prayer and this kind of opening. And it's very common. That's why a lot of businesses will have their place blessing. When we had the Maui dojo built, they had a Hawaiian kapuna come and do a Hawaiian blessing for the building as well. So we had both a Japanese blessing and a Hawaiian blessing, and that's why a lot of Japanese places do that here. They'll do a Hawaiian one and a Japanese one. And, Suzuki Sensei and Curtis Sensei would often get the call to do the Japanese blessing here. I don't know if there's any Shinto priests on Maui. There used to be, but John, maybe there's no Shinto priests on Maui anymore.
Not currently that I know of.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they kind of do that kind of thing, and that's one thing you can say about, Toy Sensei was such a unique individual to, basically, take in the teaching from all these different teachers and basically, sift out what was kind of not realistic or not didn't really work, was kind of the magical style thinking, and kind of, you know, put it all together. A lot of this, a lot of most of our key training comes right from Tempu Nakamura, and a lot of our, Aikido style stuff is right out of what O Sensei taught and what he learned in Zen practice. So, he kind of melded them all together into what we now train as Shinshin Totsu Aikido. So it's a really unique aspect, and I think we're very fortunate to have the manual and all the teachings that come from Curtis Sensei and Shinichi Sensei now to cover this kind of thing. So anything, this was a short chapter. This was only like 3 pages long, 4 pages long, so it wasn't very big. So there's not much to cover. I would really recommend, I've always, if you don't know by now, but since Curtis Sensei has the book Letting Go and he's got the manual, you can cross reference those very well. I mean, and then of course he has all his podcasts and lectures, and I will give a little plug. He's redesigning his website so that'll be a bit more user friendly, and you'll be able to search terms to find stuff easier. But believe it or not, since he does have a website, Google has categorized it very well. And if you go on Google and Google something, or it will likely come up, and it'll come right from his website. I know, because I did it just after. I've done it throughout this whole program, this manual program. I cross reference everything, just as a little, oh, okay, that'll be a good pointer to point out, and this works well with this. So yeah, that's kind of how a good way to prepare for class, I would say. And even so, I mean, I'll give you a little hint. Curtis Sensei always sends out, what the subject is going to be on Friday, and he usually sends it out on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll send you, oh, this is the theme for this Friday's class, and this is what we're going to talk about. Cross reference. Use the book Letting Go. Use the manual, and you'll be a step ahead. Then he's going to come in with maybe a third aspect, because even though, I mean, like, this stuff that I read today was from 2012, I think, 8 years ago he wrote this and dispersed with this. So it's really good because you'll get a reference of how things are changing, or maybe his perception has changed just a little bit, and you'll be able to pick that up from his lecture. That's just a little hint that I will give you. Linda has come in right towards the end. Linda, we're talking about Rei Ki Barai, pretty much everyone has given their input on this subject. And we talked dojo blessings. We talked about the shrine in Tochigi that we'd go to in the mornings. So, do you have any comments, or with Rei Ki Barai and dojo blessings and that kind of thing?
Oh, Rei Ki Barai?
Yeah,
I thought it was a blessings to cleanse the area.
yeah, yeah.
And I've watched the various ways of being done. One of the things that's pretty constant is the kujikiri, where they go through the whole little thing of the fingers, and there's some chanting, and then they do the ku,
Yeah.
which is the hiragana ku, and they cut it, so it's kujikiri, to cut. And I think that if it's a cleansing of the dojo, I guess just to throw out all any kind of negative feelings, to cut through that and whatnot, and to hope to instill and bring in the good feelings. And it's a nice. I can think that it's a nice kind of situation for opening the dojo, if it's like in the beginning of the year, or even if you had something terrible happen that was negative. Also, I've seen kiri with kujikiri with happening in other places, but kiri birai is like, to me, I associate it with the opening of the dojo in the beginning of the year, or a beginning of an event section. And it's a good, I think, what's the word for it? A good ceremonial thing to get you back into the feeling of what the dojo and the Aikido origins were. Because God knows, O Sensei was pretty much a stickler too for that kind of thing. He was into a lot of this ceremonial stuff. Of course, it's like some of us, even like, I like at Nonaka Senior explanation, where he was giving this whole lecture and talking about the purple smoke and whatever. And he leaned over and he asked Toei Sensei, "Do you know what he's talking about?" And Toei Sensei said, "No." But there must have been some kind of esoteric thing about it. That's kind of beyond us, but it's good tradition, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, when O Sensei came, he came and he did bless the Maui dojo, and I think he blessed the dojo that was in Honolulu at the time. But when he came um, to Maui, Suzuki Sensei had him bless his house that he lived in Wailuku. So O Sensei went to the house, and the first thing, O Sensei did was, let me see your altar. I want to see your altar. I want to go to pray in front of your altar.
The Butsudan.
So he went there and he looked and he said, "Oh, you have the water. Good. I'm glad you have the water for the universe." And that's why we always have a little cup of water at the Kamiza at our dojo. And Suzuki Sensei always was taught by Choi Sensei to have a little bit of water there at your shrine for the universe to drink. And when O Sensei saw that, he looked at him and said, "Yes, good. Glad you have a I'm glad you have the water." And he did a little prayer, and then did the blessing at his house. And it's I drive by his house every once in a while just to kind of look at it and go, "Oh, wow, people don't know, but O Sensei blessed that house." I thought that
that's
was
amazing.
kind of unique. Yeah, it's pretty kind of a cool little side note. So I don't have anything else for tonight.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. It's raining here.
It's pouring
Traffic
here
is
right
awful.
now. Yeah. What you wanted a question, Lillian?
Yeah, Yeah, actually, I thought of something as we were talking. You folks on Maui have two dojo. You have the upcountry dojo also. So is there another little ceremony performed at the upcountry dojo, or what do you guys do about when you have more than one dojo
Yeah,
for the club?
we don't do that's a satellite dojo in spec, but actually it's been closed for the last 2 years. Year it was closed. Of course it's been closed for all COVID, but they moved us to a little location where um, we Fincher can answer probably that question a little better because he was a teacher up there. I don't think they did it up there. I know Curtis Sensei didn't go up there and bless it. I think he did maybe in the originally when he first started up there, but everything is coordinated at the main dojo in Wailuku. But if you do have two dojos, then yes, of course you would do it. Yeah, I don't have anything else. I think next week, John put the place of peace link in the chat that talks about Shimpo Uchure Kano Sopo Genjo, and yeah, it's everything else is, we'll just go on to the next chapter. We won't cover. I'll let you know right up front. The next chapters, water misogi, training with water. And then chapter 16 we won't do because those have already been done by Curtis Sensei. Those are all the 5 principles of everything. And then we will do chapter 17, and that will likely end it for the book. So next week, chapter 15, training with water. You can break out your water misogi stories, and we'll have a discussion about that. And then for those of you who don't know, but March 22nd is Suzuki Sensei's birthday. He would have been 100 and let's see, 17, 104 years old. 104 years old. So, I was thinking what I might do is we'll just have a special, instead of doing the manual on that day, we'll have a little special Suzuki Sensei class. So, in honor of his birthday. So, that'll be on not next Monday, but the following Monday. So, you can bring your Suzuki Sensei stories. And I will actually, I'll email some people who aren't on Maui and ask them for some stories, and I'll read their stories. So we can have a little fun there. Anyway, so thank you all very much for joining us. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. And hopefully I'll see you Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday. Aloha, everybody.